clock was ticking now. Though cocooned by the bands of trees, Elizabeth knew that the sound of the explosion must have been heard by town. And the billowing pillars of smoke now blooming from the wreckage was a lighthouse leading the Nazis right to them. It was only a matter of minutes before they had company. Elizabeth and Violet sprint away from the wreckage of the explosion into the forest as the light dusting of snow melts around them. They catch up quickly with their friends. Hannah kneels next to Iris, who is propped up against a tree, breathing heavy, her face twisted with pain.
She's in bad shape. Can barely walk.
I'm fine. We were just waiting for these two.
Fuck. They did a number on you.
Elizabeth drops to her knees to help Hannah rip and tie fabric around Iris's many open wounds.
They'll be coming quickly now. We have to get out of the woods.
To the cellar.
No,
But...
We're going to the house for now. It's closer and safer.
No.
you won't make it all the way through town on foot with those wounds, especially with Nazis on their way in this direction as we speak. We'll clean you up at the house and then move you tonight when it's safer.
Iris's gaze shifts over Elizabeth's shoulder. A look of dread seeps onto her face.
Fuck.
What? Hannah immediately spins around, revolver out. A car parks at the end of the path. Inspector Mueller steps out and approaches the bloodied group of women, hand on his own gun.
You look like you could use a ride.
You son of a bitch! Knife in hand, Iris struggles to push herself up against a tree. Hannah keeps her gun trained on Mueller.
Easy. I'm here to help.
Make me believe that. Who's to say you're not carrying out Wolfgang's orders?
Now, why would I do that? You did kill him, didn't you?
So you really did come for me. Why?
I remembered who the real enemy was.
You know him?
I'm sorry, what's going on here?
Mueller, Violet, Mueller. You're both pains in my ass. And allies. Mueller nods at the car. To the girl's surprise, Hugo steps out and scoops up Iris's limp body just as she begins to lose consciousness. She lifts a weak hand to pat his cheek.
As I said, I'm here to help. Let's go.
To the bar, Inspector.
Mueller ushers the other girls into the cab, then hops back into the driver's seat and pulls away as plumes of smoke from the burning wreckage filled the sky. Fritz wasn't sure how much longer he would last. Celine's interruption had been immediately forgotten. If anything, the three men seemed to take her orders to cease the torturous interrogation as a challenge to increase the intensity out of spite. He was alone now with Patch and Trigger. They traded their pliers and tire irons for wicked-looking curved blades designed to inflict maximum pain. The first cut delivered on the promise, and Trigger cackles at Fritz's scream, while he twists the knife into his forearm.
I have to say, I've never met such a stubborn priest. All's can end when you tell us where the girls are, Father.
The men are so focused on the task at hand that they don't see the approaching figure in the shadows, but Fritz does. Head flung back, gasping for breath, he sees a dark shape swinging from rafter to rafter, completely cloaked in the darkness of the warehouse. His eyes widen in fear, until that fear is replaced with recognition as the figure pauses on the rafter right behind the men. The hood falls back and Maria holds a finger to her lips. Fritz shifts his gaze back to his tormentors, but as Patch prepares to take the next cut, Maria appears behind the man like a ghost. She drops noiselessly from the ceiling and trains her guns on them.
Drop your weapons and take 3 steps back.
Who the fuck are you?
Trigger lowers his knife and reaches for his gun, pointing it at Maria.
Drop the weapons, then we can talk. I will not ask you again.
The fuck? You think you can just walk in here and order us around?
You want to kill her? Or me?
Patch shrugs, just slightly. Trigger fires, but Maria is faster. She fires right back, shooting Trigger square through the forehead. Before Patch can react, she's on him, gun to his head.
You want to end up like your friend here. Drop your fucking weapons.
Pat drops his knife and Maria pulls his gun from his holster, tossing it towards Fritz, who's still tied up in the chair.
Who authorized you to torture this man?
ALISTAIR.
You're an impressionist.
Yes, I'm just following orders.
ALISTAIR specifically told you to do this.
Yes. Who are you?
ALISTAIR's boss.
Sparrow.
The one and only.
She shoots him in the head before he can answer. Maria rushes to Fritz and removes the gag and begins to work on the ties.
Aunt Maria. You saved me.
Fucking assholes. I knew Alistair couldn't be trusted.
What happened to you? Are you all right?
I'm all right. Long story. We need to get moving.
How did you know to come here?
CELINE, can you walk?
I think so.
Good. We need to get the girls as soon as possible. CELINE's been stalling Alistair, but it won't last long.
Maria helps Fritz to his feet and quickly assesses his injuries. She briefly fusses over his swollen face before determining he's all right to travel and struts towards the exit.
Let's go. Quick as you can. Bring the gun.
Oh, I don't think...
That was an order, not an offer, nephew.
Fritz takes Patch's revolver gingerly.
Maria, the girls are...
What? Are they all right?
I hope so. You've missed a lot. I'll explain on the way.
Girls had to duck into the floorboards of Mueller's car twice along the way back to the cellar, as scores of Nazis passed by in the direction of the explosion. Elisabeth had held her breath so long in anticipation of being discovered that HANNA had to remind her to breathe once the soldiers had passed. Iris, meanwhile, slept through it all, nestled under a blanket in HUGO's arms. Thanks to Mueller's position, he'd ensured his department had been assigned to other parts of the city and managed to usher the girls to the safety of their lair undetected. HUGO had refused to allow Mueller into the cellar, but he assured the girls that he would be monitoring the situation from the inside to ensure the Nazis' attention didn't drift in their direction. With an anxious puff of his cigarette and a nod, the inspector was gone just as swiftly as he'd arrived. HUGO carries Iris to the sofa and situates the cushions as she winces in pain. He sets a pitcher of water and cups on the table before immediately heading back to the door.
Rest, all of you. I'll be back with food and supplies soon.
Thank you. The four women sit in silence of the strong man's absence for a few moments, softening slightly into the familiar environment before HANNA stalks towards Elisabeth, finger raised.
We should have never let you convince us to bring Cornelia in.
What are you talking about? This is not my fault.
No! None of this would have happened to us if you hadn't brought her here. Hadn't convinced us we needed her, did you know?
How would I have known? She fooled me the same way she did you, HANNA.
I don't believe you.
Oh? But I'm just supposed to believe that you won't be the next one to pull the same shit Cornelia did. You have every motive to.
Girls, stop.
No. Elisabeth's right. How can we possibly trust anyone? Cornelia betrayed us, but this is your fault, Iris.
The room falls silent. All eyes on Iris. She stares right back at Violet, not moving a muscle.
You've been reckless. You haven't told us about any of the bullshit you were doing on the side. Yeah, I talked to Mueller. I know.
I went too far. But I never intentionally put you in any dangerous situation you hadn't already signed up for, Violet. I didn't betray you. Cornelia did.
Dress it up however you want, Iris, but the truth remains. With or without Cornelia, they were coming for you. Not for us. You. Because of your irresponsible choices. How fucking dare you?
You knew what I did before you signed up. You never once thought that maybe someone might get pissed off about it and start snooping? Don't be a child.
I thought you were a resistance fighter, not a fucking serial killer.
Stop, all of you! Stop! None of this is helpful. We're exhausted. None of us are thinking straight. What's done is done. Cornelia is dead. We either decide to continue trusting each other or not. But there's no use fighting over it now.
Well said. I'll gladly fight any of you over it when my body isn't so broken. But for now, we need to sleep.
We held up our end of the bargain, Iris. And then some. Now it's your turn. We're going to meet Fritz, who hopefully is with our mother. If she's not, then we have to go find her, and you will help us. We can't wait any longer.
Violet, she can barely walk.
No, Violet's right. I promised, and I owe you. Give me a few hours. I'll meet you at your house, and we'll go together. The morning sun shines through the heavy clouds. Fritz blinks hard in the light as they step out of the warehouse. Maria does a quick sweep to ensure they're alone before beckoning Fritz onward.
Till we get closer to town, I want weapons out and ready.
Yes, ma'am.
They walk in tense silence for several minutes, past the abandoned, rusted warehouses. Suddenly, from around the curve in the road, 2 figures appear. ALISTAIR and CELINE. Maria keeps her gun at the ready.
Sparrow, I'm so relieved to see you.
ALISTAIR, would you like to explain to me what the fuck you think you're doing?
Certainly. Why don't we all hop in the truck? Be more comfortable.
And go where?
Back to Zed's, where it's safe.
I think it's best that we speak here.
Everything I've done has been to ensure your safety, Sparrow. Zed was very concerned about your disappearance.
I'd imagine he would be. But you don't need to concern yourself with that, ALISTAIR. As you can see, I'm alive and well. Zed and I have already been in contact.
I'm sorry, Sparrow. My orders were clear. Bring you back to the manor using whatever means necessary. Until I hear differently from Zed, that's exactly what I must do.
As your commanding officer, you report to me. And I'm telling you, your orders have changed. Step aside. I'll be in touch soon with next instructions.
I can't let you do that.
How long have you been planning this, ALISTAIR? Trying to cozy up to Zed? Plotting to take my position?
You were incapacitated. All I'm doing is my duty to the cause in your absence.
My absence? You really think you're in control here, don't you? It's adorable, really. You don't understand how this works.
CELINE moves before ALISTAIR has the chance to fully register Maria's words. She swiftly disarms ALISTAIR and has him pinned to the ground with her knee on his neck in seconds.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
And you had the audacity to try and bait my daughters and torture my nephew. Not very strategic.
Maria, let me explain.
CELINE.
Maria pushes past ALISTAIR, Fritz trailing behind her. She doesn't look back as CELINE kills the man with a single bullet, perfectly timed to the clanging of the machinery around them. The Frenchwoman appears again at Maria's right side with barely a whisper.
Thank you, CELINE. I'm glad we weeded out this weakness sooner rather than later.
Maria finally exhales, and with the release of air, she transforms partway back into the beloved aunt Fritz remembers. Softer, kinder, and far more tired than the hardened commander she'd just been moments before.
Fritz, time to take me to the girls.
There's still smoke wafting from the scorched ruins of the forest outpost when Iris arrives. She wanders towards the ashes and falls to her knees in the midst of the wreckage. A light dusting of snow falls, pure white mixing with the black and grey ash. Iris sways gently in the wind, a faraway look in her eyes. It's done, Mama. He's dead. He can't hurt us anymore. I made sure of it. The girls made sure of it. They came back for me. Then I cut him into ribbons. Beautiful ribbons of blood. So he can't hurt you now.
You shouldn't be here.
Spell broken. Iris whips around, knife out. She relaxes when she realises it's MUELLER. Shit! MUELLER! Don't scare me like that.
Apologies.
What are you doing here?
I had a feeling you might come here. And as I said, I don't think it's wise to be anywhere near here. The scene of a crime.
Iris snaps into her act, batting her eyes, suddenly void and vapid where dangerous intelligence gleamed only a moment before. A crime? Oh dear, I was just on a stroll and came across this dreadful sight. What happened here, sir?
Even when you're half dead, you've still got it.
She musters up an exhausted smirk for him, then looks back into the ruins. MUELLER lights a cigarette.
I can't say I agree with your approach all the time. I'd like to discuss some adjustments for future missions, but...
Oh? Does this mean you've decided not to dispose of me? He passes her the cigarette. She waits to smoke until he answers.
I'm sorry. I underestimated you.
Not the first time.
You made me realize how much more can be possible. You and your...
Associates.
Right. You impressed me. It got me thinking.
You thinking? Dangerous, MUELLER.
I think we have bigger rats to squash than I previously thought.
Do bigger rats mean a bigger paycheck?
Of course. Rest up, Iris. We have much to do.
He places a hand on her shoulder and walks back down the path. Iris sighs, but this time not from exhaustion, but from a shiver of pleasure that ripples up her spine like electricity. She'd been right all along. Once people saw what she was capable of, once they understood her vision, there was no denying the genius of it. And people were willing to overlook quite a lot these days in exchange for genius, for their dirty work to be handled for them. The electricity reached her mouth and erupted into a laugh. Pure and unadulterated, Iris laughed and laughed amongst the ashes of her enemies. Elizabeth had never brushed so many knots out of her hair before. She and Violet had collapsed into their beds once they'd arrived home, their last bits of energy spent to make sure that they snuck back inside undetected from Mrs. Guterman. They were so utterly depleted of energy that bathing would have been futile. So Elizabeth had been dead to the world for nearly 3 hours before the combined rumbling of her stomach and Violet's grizzly bear-level snores demanded her return to consciousness. She'd eaten half a loaf of bread before crawling into the shower. She peeled off her clothes and sat cross-legged under the stream of hot water. Elizabeth could only stare as the steam finally eased the adrenaline that had been pumping through her veins for the past 2 days. It had taken nearly 10 minutes before the water ran clear of the mixture of blood and dirt that caked their bodies. Elizabeth wondered when the next time she'd get to take a luxurious shower like this would be. Depending on Mama's situation, they could be on the run from the Nazis for the rest of their lives at this rate. She frowned at the blackened half-moons under her nails and sighed. She'd likely be picking dried blood from under her fingernails for a few days. One look at herself in the mirror and the constant throbbing of her arms had Elizabeth debating whether cutting off her hair would be easier than brushing it out. But Iris's voice in her mind about femininity being her greatest weapon convinced her to grab the comb. The girls had just changed into fresh clothes when a knock at the door made them both jump. Elizabeth's brush clatters to the tiled floor at the sound.
Iris is here already? What time is it?
Guess she took me more seriously than I thought.
They round the corner from the living room, and Elizabeth unlocks a new series of bolts and chains that HUGO installed for them. She opens the door to find a dishevelled Maria, Fritz, and CELINE.
Mama?
Mama!
Violet catapults past Elizabeth, throwing her arms round her mother. Once Elizabeth processes, she joins in the group hug too.
Oh, my girls, my girls! Come, let's get inside.
The group moves indoors, CELINE locking all the safety features behind them. Violet and Elizabeth cling to Maria as if she'll disappear in a puff of smoke if they let go. Tears stream down all 3 of the women's faces. Maria grabs Elizabeth's face, Violet's hands, inspecting every square inch of her daughter's.
What happened to you? Are you hurt?
Never mind us, what happened to you? And you?
Her eyes go wide as she sees the state Fritz is in. She rushes over to him and wraps him in a tight hug. He winces.
Not so tight. I'm all right now. Thanks to your mother.
Thank God.
Oh, hello, who are you?
Hello, I'm CELINE, your mother's, work associate.
We can talk more later. For now, I need you to both pack a bag until we're certain I'm not on the Nazis' list.
You're not on the list.
What? What do you mean?
We took care of it. The man who betrayed you before the letter could be sent.
And we burnt the letter too.
Maria looks between her 2 girls as if they're speaking a foreign language.
You took care of it? But how? Not all by yourselves.
I didn't know until it was done.
So all this time Zed had me was for nothing. But how did you know about what happened, that I was compromised?
A letter warning you arrived at our door the night you went missing, but there was no signature, so we assumed it was from someone you knew.
Maria and CELINE exchange a worried look.
No, it wasn't sent from us. We would have told you.
Clearly, I'd already been taken to Zed's by that point.
It wasn't from the Impressionists?
I don't think so, but I'll get to the bottom of it, don't you worry.
Speaking of, you said they might still be after you. We thought you escaped from the Nazis.
No, I was with my own people the entire time.
Our immediate threats have been neutralized. No one else was given knowledge of the situation, besides Zed.
You're absolutely certain?
Oui, Sparrow.
Then I suppose we can stay.
Celine and Maria immediately have their weapons trained at the entry. Fritz is on high alert.
Girls, to the back door.
Everyone relax, we were expecting guests.
Who?
Elizabeth unlocks and opens the door to reveal Iris and Hannah, both still beat up but with clean hair and clothes. Their jaws drop when they realise Elizabeth and Violet are not alone. The women do not lower their guns. Sparrow, you're back.
What the fuck are you doing here?
Elizabeth runs to Iris and Hannah, standing between the two parties.
Mama, what are you doing? Put your gun away, these are our friends.
Iris is not your friend. Get out of the way, Elizabeth.
Mama, please. We didn't get a chance to explain everything yet. Put those down and come inside, all of you.
She's right. Shut the door behind you. And weapons on the ground.
Hannah shuts the door slowly. Not unless you put yours down too, Celine.
Mama, please let us explain.
I don't think there's anything to explain. Iris is not authorized to be part of this conversation.
Yes, she is, Mama. She's been helping us this entire time, looking for you. She taught us how to fight, so that we would be safe.
And who is this?
Hannah saved our lives. She's a friend.
Is that right, Iris?
Exactly as they said, Sparrow. Your girls were left without protection. They came to me for help. I helped them.
Mama.
Shh, Fritz.
I didn't know they knew one another until yesterday.
I think your girls are more like you than you realize, Sparrow.
Be that as it may, they don't understand what they've gotten themselves into. Thank you for whatever part you played in keeping them alive, Iris, but you are not allowed to come near my daughters ever again.
Mama, no!
Don't be so hasty, Sparrow. Let me explain.
No, that was an order. Fulfill your obligations to the Impressionists and wait for word about your next assignment. That is all, Iris.
Mama, we owe these women our lives. Iris was meeting us here to go find you, rescue you from the Nazis if need be.
I don't understand, Mama. What is the meaning of all this?
It's fine. If Sparrow wants me to go, I'll go.
Iris, no, wait.
But Iris just tips her cap to Maria and Celine, takes Hannah's arm and walks out the door. Elizabeth tries to run after them, but Celine holds her back. As she turns to shut the door behind her, Violet could have sworn she saw the face of the dead soldier staring back at her for just a moment. Her jaw drops open as she stares in shock. The next morning, the city is bustling as usual, despite the steady drizzle of rain. Maria sits alone in a cafe, by the window, bundled in a navy coat. Her fingers tap impatiently on the side of her coffee cup as she scans the road outside. The shop bell rings as the door opens. Zed leisurely makes his way to Maria's table.
Cyril! Take a seat.
She signals to the waitress.
You look well.
Better than I've been in a long while, I'd say.
I take it Alistair is...
The waitress approaches with her notepad.
What can I get for you?
Tea, please. Cream and sugar.
Of course.
It does not bode well to cross me, Zed, you know this.
Alistair had to learn that the hard way, I take it?
Yes. He said that his actions were direct orders from you. Is that true?
When I realized you had vanished, I asked him to retrieve you, rescue you from whoever might have taken you.
Did you specify how?
By whatever means necessary.
Oh, I see.
Here you are, sir. Can I get anything else for the table?
No, thank you.
I understand that you're angry with me.
Angry? Oh, hi.
And you are right to be. I was wrong. I have been lurking so deeply in the shadows of this war for so long, doing what we could without risking much of anything. This incident made me realize it's about time we took a stronger approach.
Are you serious?
How foolish of me to think I could contain wildfire. To think it was something needing my protection and not my respect.
Are you saying that...
It's time to let wildfire be wildfire, my dear. I am at your disposal.
The elderly Archbishop was more alert than Fritz had seen him in a long time. His opaque blue eyes glinted with a deep knowing that made Fritz shift nervously in his seat. He was painfully aware that his bruises and cuts had only barely faded from his ordeals, and didn't like the idea of being scrutinised. There were too many secrets, too many memories forever tied to the parish house that still bubbled far too close to the surface. Something in those misty eyes made Fritz wonder how much the Archbishop actually knew. If KARL had told him anything. No time for that. He had one final task to do before he could begin the process of forgetting and atoning for those sins and hurts again.
My child, you are understandably distressed. May I ease your soul?
May I speak plainly, Father?
You may.
KARL, Father Peterson, was murdered in our own parish house, and then I was nearly killed myself. I need a change. After all that has happened, I'd like to be transferred to another diocese.
Ah. Did you have a location in mind?
A day later, dressed in civilian clothing, Fritz stands on the train platform beside two suitcases, breathing freely for what felt like the first time in years. He could hardly believe that the Archbishop had granted his every request without probing. Despite the Archbishop offering a 2-week break before leaving, Fritz had insisted on going immediately. Part of him wanted to ensure that he was long gone before anyone could change their minds. Maria kept steady hands on the shoulders of Violet and Elizabeth. Every time Elizabeth looked at the train's destination, another tear trickled down her face.
France is too far away, Fritz. Too dangerous.
It's just a goodbye for now, girls. I'll see you again.
Be safe, Fritz.
We love you.
And I love you too.
Take care, nephew. I'll write to you soon.
Maria catches his eye and gives him a firm nod. He returns it solemnly.
I look forward to it.
As the train pulls away, Fritz stows his luggage and finds an empty compartment. He settles into the faded plaid seat and watches the faces of his people, the lights of his city, grow smaller from the window. The three Fisher women sit at their dining room table for dinner, a scene they've played out hundreds of times before, but tonight everything feels completely different. All three women keep stealing glances at one another, as if searching for every small similarity and difference revealed in one another's faces.
I miss Fritz already.
Me too.
I think this is what he needed. He's been through a lot these past few months. We all have.
Is everything all right, Mama?
Everything is just fine, my love. We're safe.
See, you're doing it again. There's more that you're not telling us.
Can I not have any thoughts to myself?
That's not what I mean. You're shutting us out. You can't just pretend like we don't know about these things anymore.
Elizabeth, give her a break. She just got home.
I don't care. Iris told us more about the Impressionists, the group you lead, in a month than you had the opportunity to tell us over years.
We already discussed this, Elizabeth.
No, I don't understand, Mama. Iris would...
Enough about Iris. Enough. She can't be trusted.
You haven't given us a single real reason why we shouldn't trust her.
Yes, I have. She's selfish, reckless, she doesn't follow orders. I bet she'd throw you to the enemy the moment things got sticky. We allow her to be part of this group in a restrained manner only, for good reason.
Are you joking? After everything we've told you about what we've been through...
Do I look like I'm joking? I was clear. You are not to see or associate with Iris again. You're lucky you made it out of her whims alive.
Whims? You are such a hypocrite. All our lives, you told us it was important to be brave, to stand up for what's right. Iris did that. She helped us when no one else would, when we thought you were likely dead.
She wasn't helping you, she was using you!
Using us? How? By teaching us how to survive? She taught us more than you ever did. God, you really left us here like sheep, ready for slaughter. You knew the risks of your position, and you never once thought it might be wise to teach us how to protect ourselves?
I wanted to keep you from the cruelties of this world as long as possible. You weren't ready.
Bullshit. It was just more convenient for you to keep us in the dark, like children.
That's because you are. children, Elizabeth. And I am your mother, and it is my job to decide what's best for you, because clearly you are susceptible to even the most basic of manipulation. You don't get to decide, I do.
Not anymore, Mama.
Elizabeth stands and pushes her chair in. She walks to her room.
Where are you going?
Elisa, wait, let's talk this through.
Elizabeth emerges with a satchel of her things, pre-packed for this very outcome.
Oh, now you want to join the conversation, Violet? Where were you all night? I know you want everything to go back to the way it was before, but that's impossible. Everything is different.
Elizabeth, I forbid you from going anywhere near that vile girl.
Are you coming or not, Violet?
Elizabeth, you can't go.
Take your hands off me, Mother.
Maria freezes, not realizing the grip she had on her youngest daughter's wrist. She slowly drops her hand.
You know where to find me if you'll change your mind, Vi.
Elizabeth walks out the door and down the street towards town. She doesn't look back. In the cellar under the Schadenfreude bar, Hannah and Iris, sporting newly dyed black hair, play chess. The cellar is warm and cosy. Both women are wrapped in quilts and have steaming mugs of soup nearby. 5 knocks. 3 long, 2 short, reverberate through the room. Hannah pauses, pawn in hand, and looks to Iris with the start of a question in her mouth. Before she can ask it, Iris leaps to her feet as the door swings open, revealing a hollow-eyed Elizabeth.
Can I stay here?
Well, aren't you a wicked little dame, defying mother's orders? Of course. Welcome home. Think you have what it takes to decipher the coded letter? Visit our website's evidence section for clues to help you follow along with the mystery. Wicked Dames is an independent, self-funded production. If you enjoyed the show and would like to support our cast and crew, we invite you to donate the amount of your choice on our website at alisonhaselden.com/wicked-dames. This show contains explicit content and may not be suitable for all listeners. A list of all content warnings is included in the show notes of each episode for your reference.